Well, how's it going, everybody? I know, right? Whew. So, we're going to kick off a little bit on this one. I'm going to go ahead and show my board, but this one's the basic things. I mean, a couple of things you're going to need for your Joe Schmo, alright? These are things that I got. I'm just showing you my whole board because I'm showing you what I had to deal with. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this and how it works and why I had to do it. Okay? So, but to cover the Joe Schmo stuff real quick, I don't care what anybody says. For your normal Joe Schmo, this right here is your best friend. Harbor Freight is really all you need. This works for everything. Car dies out in the middle of nowhere, guess what? Go get their solar panel kit. That's what I started with. My bus is 36 feet long. I had the ability to charge one battery, and if I had to, I could spend a couple of days charging the battery on my bus. Is it the greatest thing in the world? No, but it works, okay? So, not everybody can afford a jumper box, and a jumper box, sometimes you have to charge. You don't really want to do that, okay? So, like I said, Harbor Freight, honestly, for the Joe Schmo, is your best friend. Also, get yourself a buddy heater, alright? Another thing you can think of is a water tank, alright? Make sure you get something, don't fill it up all the way if you're in freezing areas, you don't want it to crack. But get something so that you can have water, pod water, store water, whatever you're in. Me personally, I have a 65-gallon leg tank, and that was left over from when I had my auto detailing business. So a lot of the stuff that I have in my bus when we do my overall tour is stuff that I've had throughout my life in my construction career, my auto detailing career, my personal hobbies, and things I just so happen to get at the dumps and thrift stores along the way. But anyway, back to the board. So, that little black one up there on the top, that just so happens to be the charge controller for Harbor Freight. It's relatively simple. It comes with 4 25-watt solar panels, which gives you a 100-watt solar total. And that's sufficient enough for all you need for one of these 12-volt batteries. Okay? And it also comes with 2 lights that are a DC light. So that's also a benefit to it, okay? You get your lighting system plus your charge capability. Now, if you're in a car, go buy it. It's worth it. You can have lights in your car. You don't have to worry about running your car if you want to go ahead and charge your stuff and have your lights on in your car while you're sitting there living in it. If you're living in a van, they're perfect. 2 lights comes with the kit. That's at least what mine got. Came, like I said, 4 panels. They come with a tilt array back, so you can go ahead and set them up on the ground and stuff like that, So they're really, really helpful, and I definitely recommend it if you're just getting into this and you don't have any money or anything like that to throw into a massive system, because believe me, from what you can see in the background, this was not done all at the same time. But the question, does it work? Absolutely. 100% it works. And I can absolutely trust that I can walk away from this thing for months and not shut anything off, and nothing will happen, okay? But I took a couple of things into consideration. I took a couple of extra precautions and stuff like that. So when it comes to this board, I've got 2 charge controllers. This big one right here that's flashing, that's a really famous one. I got that one, and I currently have it on a 12-volt system, only capable of, I believe, 520, maybe 530 watt array total. Now, the reason I have 2 charge controllers is because, like I said, I started with the Harbor Freight one. Now, for any of those people wondering if you can upgrade, there's plenty of videos on upgrading the panel to that particular Harbor Freight charge controller, and I ended up doing that, okay? I got a 135 watt panel that I put up on the roof, and I went straight to that charge controller and that charge controller only. And then I got another 175 watt later on when I bought the second charge controller, and I wired that other solar panel to the bigger charge controller. Everything's brought down and connected so that they all work together and all the rest of the stuff. Like I said, if you're confused on that and you really want to know the details of it, there are other videos that go more in depth with that stuff, but I'm trying to keep this basic for the people that need to get into something really quick and wondering how they can do it cheap. But I'm also at the same time trying to let you know things that you're going to run into later on down the line, okay? So prioritize. That's the key. All right? So on my board I've got a lot of interesting features, and I don't actually have a light with me right now, so the side of my board on this side is a little dark, but as you can see over here on that negative terminal, or positive terminal, sorry, I actually have my amp meter, which goes up over on top of my bed, and it shows me my amps that I get, whether they're, you know, coming in or out, whatever, all that stuff. And then I've got another right here on my inverter right here. This is my 110 inverter, and it's nothing special. It was another Harbor Freight item, okay? And that's another thing for the Joe Schmo. Get an inverter, okay? It's a lot easier to run an inverter off of your battery to be able to charge something very, very small if you don't want to use the DC or anything like that. But if you've got to run something like charge a Makita drill, like I've had to do, that inverter is going to save your life, okay? Now, you're definitely going to want that, all right? So, get yourself the solar panel, get yourself any type of inverter you can get that'll provide one power for your basic needs. Mine just happened to be cordless equipment. Okay, I really needed something that can charge an 18-volt battery. And something that can run a 110 refrigerator, like a little itty-bitty college one, okay? We're talking like, you know, something really small. I think like, you know, less than 4 cubic feet, guaranteed. Anyway, so those are the two items off of this board that I would definitely recommend for the Joe Schmo, alright? And I would recommend these as soon as you possibly can. Don't get them right off the bat because everybody's situation is different. Mine, it took a bit to get this stuff. Even the solar panel and all the rest of the stuff, it took some time. But then I've also built my system up pretty good too, so I've got a lot of cleaning up to do. But it works 100% even though it's all kinds of crazy. Alright, there's one more thing I'm going to pan around over here. And you're going to notice I got a little brown box over there on my bench. That bench is the heater that's in my bus. I didn't remove them. That's a bad idea too. I don't really like doing that. And then again, this was a Joe Schmo, so I didn't have time to pull any of this stuff out. I just built and moved in and then built more. Okay? So I had another thing that was lucky that happened to me, and I was in a Walmart parking lot, and a gentleman had an RV that was trashed that was supposed to be being purchased by someone else that turned out to be a drug addict. It's a shame. It honestly is a shame because the guy tried everything he could to do something with the RV and then finally approached me and just asked me if I wanted it. And he signed it over in front of a notary, and he handed me the title, and he said, it's all yours. So I took a couple of things out of it, because I can use them, you know, and that brings me to another important point when it comes to these school buses. You've got to try and stay in the RV world if you want to not have a lot of issues. Don't keep going fancy, because the more fancy you get, the more problems you have, all right? But that little brown box right over there on top of that bench happens to be the entire power distribution center, or shore power, for an RV. And then just above it happens to be the contact switch for the generator. Alright, so I was able to salvage those two items and link it into my system. There's one more item you're going to notice, and that's down there on the floor next to the batteries. This one is interesting, okay? Now I've got a spare belt down here. And as you can see, it has a positive and a negative cable hooked to it that I hook chair lugs to for now, just to test the system. And then it has one of these belts on it right here, and this is one of those replace-a-link belts. These are awesome. The reason I have that set up is that is an AC 110 motor to an alternator that alternator, worst case scenario, can fire up my batteries. So if I ever have the ability where anything else is not working, that thing gets fired up. The rest of the time, I don't worry about it. If I'm in an area where I don't feel like or I can't plug in my generator, and I ran into some issues where my battery bank went low, because it has happened before, I can hook a 12 or a 18 volt Makita drill to this thing, and I can sit there and crank it until that battery dies, and it'll at least bump my batteries back up to 12 volts so that they're not sitting low and I don't have to worry about them dying. All right, we'll go more in depth on this particular thing next time I make a video on it. All right, because I know you guys are looking at it going, oh man, that's sketchy. But I'm telling you, I've been in this thing for over 2 years and I've never had nothing happen. Nothing. All right, so I hope this video was helpful on some of the things you can get for your Joe Schmo build if you don't want to go all out, or you're not in the position to go all out. And if you like it that much and you want to share it, go for it. I would really appreciate it. Otherwise, destroy that subscribe button, kick that bell out of any window you possibly can without breaking it. That way you don't have to worry about being notified anytime I drop a video, because you're automatically going to get it and you'll be updated. All right, you guys take care.